Joe Zekas. I'm at ParkView Condominiums in Streeterville, looking east here and coming around, and I'm going to meet Francesca Rose, and Francesca is going to introduce me to some folks and tell me what we're looking at and what we're doing here.
Well, we're back again at 505 McClurg. This is my listing, unit 2402, and I had you here the first time to see what the before, and now this is the after. So I wanted to really showcase not only my listing, but also talk about and meet some of the stagers who put this together and why staging is so important to selling your property, what they've done here, and as you probably remember, it's an amazing difference.
It's a total transformation.
So you'll have to check out the YouTube videos to see the before. So today we're working with Kim and Karen from Chicago Home Staging, and they were the ones who designed the space. And so talk about what the space was like when you first came in. I know you met with Bhavesh, and there was some reluctance in terms of staging, and this is something that I encounter with a lot of my clients. And then when we stage it and we're done, they're like total believers, and they think this is the most amazing thing. And I'm definitely a believer in the power of staging and how it can transform the space, and why it's so effective in marketing and helping people really understand how their furniture can fit in a vacant room. And there's a lot of inventory on the market today, and so you have to make it look memorable and show its best advantage.
Right.
So.
Well, when we met with Bhavesh, he had a card table over there. He had some things in here.
The blue sofa.
Right, he had the blue sofa. And then what we did was we came in and we added a few pieces to what he had and took out some of like the card table and that. The main thing in this room was the sofa. It wasn't placed properly. It made the room look really small. So,
wasn't it turned around the other way? It wasn't the long end, I think, dividing the room at one point because they
It was, yeah. So we pushed it back a little and we made it, we created some separation there too with the dining room table at an angle there. So that makes the room look a lot bigger.
We moved it down, I think, about 8 inches. The other nice thing is in the before video, with this being the only piece of furniture in here, it looked huge and it made the room look really small. Once you start layering in accessories and different textures and stuff, the room looks bigger, and you can also, as a buyer, see that you can fit big furniture in the space and still feel like you have space.
I always found that's the paradox of empty space, that when the room is vacant, it appears smaller, and people can't visually imagine. The eye is tricked with perspective and scale. They think that my sofa is going to take up the whole room. I'll never be able to fit in a dining room table. And since this is a combination open floor plan, like many of the new construction properties are, there isn't a dedicated dining room space, but clearly you have room, you have table here for 6, a sidebar over there, another space where the plant is. So it really defines visually that space.
It does.
Very subtly, because you also have these beautiful views, and in a space like this, you don't want to chop it up with too much furniture and too much division. So you want to have the separate feel of the spaces, but you also don't want to take anything away from the big selling point, which I think is probably the view here.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree. So the other big challenge that was with this space, so this was when I had this listing, we looked at it and we said, okay, how can we maximize its best potential? And there had been a property which had been sold before, and it was beautifully, beautifully furnished. So that was really what we were trying to do. But the other objection that we had, besides being vacant, was color. So let's go take a look at some of the different color transformations and talk about what was here before and what you've done and why color is so important with space. Initially, this was a red corridor, and when I met with the homeowner, we talked about toning down some of the strong colors that he had. And so we wanted to work with some of his color, but we needed to change some of the other colors that he had. So talk again about the idea of having some color, but being a more neutral color.
Right, it needs to be, when we walked in, this whole, here it was red, it was in an L like this. It needs to just be more neutralized. And like Karen said, it's, 3 people might like red, 3 out of 7 might like red, but you're trying to appeal to everyone when they walk in the door. You want everyone to get a feeling of like, it's just very neutral. You don't want someone to go, oh, red walls.
The color is important because if you're buying new construction, it typically is in the developer white color.
Right.
So this really warms up the space, makes it feel more like
subtle though,
home
than the red.
Yeah, and neutral doesn't have to be boring. That's the other thing is, these are pretty warm colors, and we will use some accent walls too. to pop in photographs and to kind of draw people in. Staging isn't really just neutralizing everything and making it vanilla. It's creating, a very kind of chic, urban atmosphere, especially in the city, because that's something we think is very important, that and, quality art, but it's not no color.
Yeah,
for staging.
definitely no.
So these are
I
some,
like the little pieces you put here to give you a sense of arrival, a sense that you're in a foyer.
so
Yeah, I mean, this creates a space. It's an entryway. You can throw your keys there. They can, it's just a place to set things.
and again, when something is
It's an
vacant,
entryway.
it's hard for me to say, oh, I can fit a table here, I can fit some pieces of furniture. So it's also a very practical sense. So now we're moving back into the bedroom suite. Now let's start with the other. This was set up as just a guest bedroom. And what was the color of the walls here? Was it the blue color? Was it the? I remember the other.
It was like a.
This was purple.
Bluish.
Yeah, this was a purplish bluish.
Bluish color. So mixed with the gray. So we just left the gray and we kind of neutralized it with the white.
Right, so you worked with the existing colors that were here.
Right.
And I think this is one of the biggest transformations in terms of space from a before and an after, because you added furniture here so that you can make this into an
That's
office or a
right.
desk, or,
That's one of the pieces we brought in.
and then your artwork too. This was,
The artwork's really important. I mean, it's so important because that's what brings the color in. Instead of having it all over the walls like the bright red, the artwork brings the color in and it makes it look.
Expensive. It adds value to a listing. Expensive looking artwork. It doesn't have to be expensive, but everything you put in should be expensive looking to add value in the buyer's mind. If everybody wants to live a better lifestyle, I think, than they do sometimes. And they walk in and if the place looks like they want to live, they're going to want it.
And again, you've left it open to emphasize the views.
Mm-hmm.
what I like about this company is that it doesn't look to me like, with all due respect to some other, companies, it feels very unique and personalized. It doesn't have that stamp of staged.
I've been staged.
And
Yeah, we
a lot
really
of
try to stay away from that.
Right, a lot of people say somebody living, this is somebody's home.
Good.
So yeah, because
Yeah.
you go to
That's
some
the
places
effect we
like
want.
the
Yeah.
models sometimes look just a little too overdone or a little too polished and not really real.
And sometimes they look the same as the one done across, the street, and the buyers might be seeing all of the models in the area, and if they're all the same furniture and the same artwork and the same cookie cutter accessories, then they all start to look alike. So we really try to take that into account. Each property we pick out all the accessories to personally kind of go with that property, enhance the property.
And the other benefit too is because these homeowners still use this as they're in town. They've now just received a huge upgrade in terms of their lifestyle. So the comment that I get is, I don't think I want to sell now because you made my home. No, I know, it's just good. But that's their first reaction is, I
That's nice.
never knew that my property could look so great.